Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and in this video, I'm going to answer a question from one of my viewers. Bill wants to know, I draw semi-realistic, semi-anime faces. Will Face Aware Liquify in Photoshop CC 2018 still work? And so in this video, I'm going to explore the limitations of Photoshop's Face Aware Liquify feature. Now it's worth mentioning that in the CC 2018 update, there have been some improvements to the face recognition using machine learning. And in order to test that, I've brought together a collection of faces that I've painted. Now, a lot of these are all older paintings, and they're not the best paintings of faces. They can all use a little bit of work. Some of them are going for a realistic look, some of them are going for a more fantasy look, and some of them are just straight up cartoons or abstract. So we're going to start with something more realistic, and we're going to work towards something that's not realistic at all, and we'll see if Face Aware Liquify can recognize these as faces and manipulate their features. So let's go ahead and start with this one here. This is a study that I painted just to see if I could kind of get that Renaissance kind of look in a painting. It has some elements of realism, but overall it's not quite an accurate face. So let's go ahead and go to Filter, Liquify. And initially we can see that it does recognize this as a face. And we can make the eyes bigger or smaller. We can raise or lower the forehead. We can change the jawline, and so on. We can also grab parts of the face and move them around. And so I'd say that Photoshop's done a good job of recognizing that this is a face. Moving on to the next image, this is still semi-realistic, but also kind of cartoony at the same time. Let's go ahead and try applying Face Aware Liquify to this image. And again, we can successfully increase and decrease the eye size. We can grab the nose and bring it up and move it around and just sculpt this into looking however we want. So even though this is not a realistic face, Photoshop is still able to manipulate it. But Bill and some of you out there might be painting even less realistically than this. So let's simplify the face even more with this image. I'm going to go to Filter, and we are able to manipulate this face as well. Now the accuracy of the manipulations does start to kind of break down. You can see that when I'm increasing and decreasing the eye, the center of the eye is being recognized as being right here, which is completely not on the eye at all. It's going to be really hard to fix the nose because the nose is just too long. So I'd need to go and fix that a different way, maybe by cutting the nose out and transforming it separate from the layers underneath. But Face Aware Liquify is only going to be able to help so much. Let's move on to this painting here. And this is a semi-realistic face. It's simplified, but it's done in more of an impressionist style. Let's see how Face Aware handles it. It's recognizing the face. We can move the face around. We can increase the eye size or decrease it. Let's try something difficult here. Let's try the jawline. And indeed, it does get that. I can make her face slimmer or wider. So even though this jawline is just a few brush strokes, Face Aware Liquify is still able to recognize that that's a jawline. Now, what if the face is semi-realistic, simplified, and a little bit abstract, like this example here? It's recognizing that it's a face, and I'm able to manipulate it and move it around. However, because it's abstract, things are a little misaligned, and so it might be a little more difficult to manipulate certain areas of this. I can move the forehead and the jawline. You can see that the jawline is expanding the neck as well, though, because the neck is abstract. Now let's try something that's not even really trying to be realistic at all. This is more of a cartoony style here. And you'll even recognize this. We can make the eyes bigger or smaller. We can have more or less smile. We can take the nose and we can move it up or down, and we can increase or decrease the jawline. So even though this is not a realistic face, it looks like something that a child drew, it's still recognizing it as a face, and I can still make changes to it. Now let's go for something that almost looks like vector art here, and let's see if it'll recognize this. It's not working. It's not detecting it as a face. And so it's interesting that this image is not recognized, but the image before it is. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the shape of the head. Maybe the head is too oval shaped, and so that throws it off. Maybe the nose is not defined enough. But a very, very simple graphic like this, or at least this graphic, is not able to be recognized. Now you may find that maybe you can add a couple of things. Maybe if I added some nostrils here. Let's try it now and let's see. And even with adding the nostrils, it's still not recognizing this as a face. So we won't be able to manipulate this image. Let's see if it'll work with kind of a manga or anime style face. And again, it's not detecting a face, and maybe that's because I did kind of a sloppy job of drawing this face. Maybe the chin is too pointy, maybe the eyes are too big, and if I change some of those things, it might recognize it. And here's a really abstract cartoony face, good old Salvador Dali. And apparently it thinks it's recognizing a face, but the face is just an eye over here. So let's see what this does if we increase or decrease the eye size. Doesn't really seem to be doing anything. It's kind of moving the eyebrow. Let's try moving the forehead. And it's just kind of moving the eyebrow. Let's try the jawline. It's making the eye squish and squash. So for some reason it thinks that only part of this image is a face and the rest of it is not. Let's try something that's not necessarily human. This is a green imp face, and it has pointy ears, and its skin is not a normal human skin color. Unfortunately for this guy, it's not detecting his face, and so I'm not able to make any changes. Here's a face that's in a very abstract and heavily impressionist style. Still not recognizing that it's a face, unfortunately. Here's something even more abstract. The colors are completely abstract, the head is very blocky, and it's in kind of a cubist style. And to my amazement, apparently this is a face. Some of the other images that weren't as abstract are not faces, but as far as Photoshop is concerned, this is a face. We can make the eyes bigger or smaller. We can change the shape of the jawline. We can move the forehead up or down. We can make the nose wider or slimmer. We can take the eyes and move them up and down and manipulate this as if it's a face. So I really wouldn't have expected that this face works and some of the other ones don't. And I still don't really know for sure exactly what Photoshop is looking for when it's detecting a face, but I'm guessing it's probably proportion more than it is skin color and the arrangement of the elements of the face. And let's bring in our last image here. This is definitely not realistic at all. It's just a few simple lines. And apparently it recognizes this as a face, even though there were lots of things that were much more detailed where I took the time to draw in the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Those are not faces, and this apparently is. So I can move the forehead, I can sculpt the jawline, I can take the eyes and I can move them up and down, I can move the nose up and down, I can make this person look like they're smiling or frowning. So it is really kind of hit or miss. You're just going to have to try it with your image and see if it works or if it doesn't. But the one thing I do know about Photoshop Face Aware is if it is recognizing a face in your image, that means that you've done a good job drawing a face. You don't have to be able to draw a face realistically for people to be able to recognize a face, nor do you have to be able to draw a face realistically for a computer to be able to recognize a face. And so there is something very fundamental that you have to achieve when you're drawing faces, and running your image through Face Aware Liquify is a good way to test whether or not you're on the right track. If you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video, and if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I have a lot more digital art tutorials for artists like you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.